Hi, it's Bob, and I'd like to talk to you about perceiving ADD and ADHD a bit differently. I've talked about these things in a variety of videos and a variety of articles in different ways, but the numbers of children being diagnosed as ADD and ADHD and adults is staggering and shocking and unnecessary. Right? If you watch my things before, you know I don't like labels, period. And these I particularly don't like. But I want to give you a perspective on this. All right? And let me start by giving you a perspective based on looking at children. All right? Let me read to you a checklist of descriptions kind of a typical 4-year-old. All right? And the list starts off with short attention span, especially for non-preferred tasks. Hyperactivity, which may be physical, verbal, or emotional. Impulsivity, which may manifest as recklessness. Fidgety, right? Disorganized and difficult to prioritize tasks. Poor time management and time blindness. Frequent mood swings and emotional dysregulation. Forgetfulness and poor working memory. Trouble multitasking and executive function. Inability to control anger or frustration. Trouble completing tasks and frequent procrastination. Distractibility. Okay. That's a list of things that you would say would categorize a typical 4-year-old, right? But, oops, that list actually is not written as a description of a 4-year-old. That actually is a checklist that gets you diagnosed as having ADD or ADHD. Okay? That is the checklist that produces the diagnosis for ADD, ADHD. And if you will, that's a description of a typical 4-year-old. That is a description of a function of a person who has the processing ability, the short-term memory, weak working memory, and poor existing executive function. All right? It's not a disease. It's a developmental problem. It simply means the pieces have not been put together to produce the function we want. You know, I remember years ago when they first started using Ritalin and other medications for ADD and ADHD kids. And one of the researchers said that the only valid treatment is something that changes everybody with a diagnosis. Well, I can tell you, after many, many decades and thousands of kids who come to us with such labels, they're different. They have different problems. They have different issues. But foundational and fundamental to the lack of function that produces the label are these problems of the child's development of their short-term memory, working memory, and executive function has not happened. Can there be other contributing factors? Yes. All right. But this is kind of foundational to the problem. All right. The kids are different, and we need to address their differences, their specific inefficiencies, but we have to address and build the foundation to change the function. All right. You know, I'm going to go back to my old formula. Innate intelligence to our power of our processing plus education equals our function, produces our function. And if we don't address the pieces that are underdeveloped and fix them, they're not going to change. You know, when the discussion of medication for these problems was first going around, I said, you know, if you were to ask me, you've got a bunch of 4-year-olds and you want them to be able to sit in a second or third grade classroom, how can we have them do that? Well, I think you'd have to drug them. Okay? If you have kids who are functioning as 4-year-olds and you want them to function as older individuals, without addressing what's broken and fixing what's broken, drug them. And produce all the problems associated with that without addressing the fundamental foundational problem, which in general is easily fixed if we address it. Okay? Hope you found that interesting. Thanks.